The Zarkanian science vessel emerged from hyperspace on the edges of Earth's solar system, its crystalline hull gleaming in the distant sunlight. Captain Zelthor stood on the bridge, their 4 arms crossed in what passed for satisfaction among their species. After centuries of searching, they'd finally found what appeared to be a promising candidate for uplifting, a young species just beginning to venture beyond their atmosphere. Initial scans complete, Captain, announced first observer Rel-IA, their sensor tendrils pulsing with data streams. The humans appear to have achieved basic space flight capabilities, with a primitive orbital station and several satellite networks. Their military technology is rudimentary at best. Zelthor's facial ridges rippled in amusement. Prepare the standard first contact protocols. We'll start with their orbital station, fewer variables to manage than a ground-based approach. The massive science vessel gracefully maneuvered toward the International Space Station, its cloaking systems active to avoid premature detection. The plan was simple: dock with the station, make peaceful contact with the crew, and begin the process of introducing humanity to the greater galactic community. That's when everything went wrong. The ISS's automated defense systems that weren't supposed to exist according to their scans, detected the approaching vessel despite its cloaking technology. Before the Zarkanians could react, a warning shot from a concealed railgun flashed across their bow. Impossible. Rel-IA's tendrils writhed in confusion. Their technological level shouldn't allow for this kind of detection capability, let alone weapons of this nature. The ship's communications system crackled to life with a transmission from the station. Unidentified vessel, this is Commander Sarah Chen of the International Space Station. You are in restricted space and your approach is unauthorized. Maintain your current position or we will be forced to take defensive action. Zelthor's ridge scales flattened in alarm. This wasn't how first contact scenarios typically played out with pre-FTL civilizations. Open a channel, they commanded. This is Captain Zelthor of the Zarkanian science vessel Eternal Curiosity. We come in peace. The transmission was cut short by another warning shot, this one closer than the first. Your cloaking technology isn't as sophisticated as you think, Commander Chen's voice came through again. We've been tracking you since you entered the solar system. Now, would you like to explain why a supposedly peaceful science vessel is equipped with what our scans show to be plasma weaponry? The bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. The humans shouldn't have been able to detect their defensive systems either. Zelthor was about to respond when alarms blared throughout the ship. Captain. Rel-IA's voice rose in pitch. Multiple small objects approaching from the station at high velocity. Evasive maneuvers. Zelthor ordered, but it was too late. The objects, which turned out to be repurposed maintenance drones retrofitted with magnetic grappling systems, attached themselves to the crystalline hull of the science vessel. Before the Zarkanians could react, electric current surged through the makeshift weapons, creating a feedback loop in their ship systems. They've converted maintenance equipment into weapons, Rel-IA observed with a mixture of horror and fascination. Who does that? Humans, apparently, Zelthor replied grimly as their systems began to fail one by one. Send the emergency signal to the fleet. The assessment of this species needs to be drastically revised. As their ship drifted powerless in space, Commander Chen's voice came through one final time. Now then, shall we try this first contact thing again? This time with a bit more honesty. On the bridge of the mighty science vessel, Captain Zelthor realized that the galaxy's understanding of humanity was about to change dramatically. They hadn't just found another species to uplift, they'd discovered something far more interesting, a civilization that could turn anything into a weapon, including their own limitations. The real question was, what would humanity do with that capability once they joined the wider galactic community? The news of humanity's unconventional first contact spread through the Galactic Council like wildfire. The Zarkanian incident had proven that these primitives weren't so primitive after all. Humanity's acceptance into the galactic community came with unprecedented speed, and unprecedented concern. 5 years later, those concerns would be justified. Deep Space Station 7 hung in the void between solar systems, a crucial supply depot for merchant vessels traveling the Orion Arm. Its massive rotating rings housed a permanent population of 5,000, including 50 human engineers who had been assigned there as part of the technology exchange program. Station Commander Vixtal watched the approaching Drachnid warships on the main display, all 6 of their hearts pounding. The pirates had chosen their moment well. The station's defensive fleet was 3 days away, responding to another distress call that now appeared to be a deliberate diversion. "They've blocked all quantum communications," reported Lieutenant Kaz. "We're cut off from reinforcements." Vixtal's facial tentacles writhed in frustration. The station's defensive systems were formidable, but not enough to handle a fleet of this size. "How many ships?" 17 battlecruisers, Commander. "Their weapon systems are charging. Begin evacuation procedures. Get all non-essential personnel to the escape pods." A human voice cut through the tension. "Begging your pardon, Commander, but we might have another option." Chief Engineer Sarah Martinez stood at the back of the command center, her expression unervingly calm. Behind her stood the rest of the human engineering team, each wearing the same unsettling smile. "What exactly are you proposing, Chief Martinez?" "Well," she said, pulling up a schematic on her tablet, "you know those industrial mass drivers we use for launching supply containers? Turns out they're basically just really big railguns. We just need to make a few modifications." Vixtal's tentacles went still. "You want to turn our cargo system into weapons?" "That's just the start," Martinez grinned. "You should see what we can do with the station's artificial gravity generators and those spare antimatter fuel cells from last month's shipment." For the first time since the alert had sounded, Vixtal felt a glimmer of hope. They had heard stories about human ingenuity, but had dismissed most as exaggeration. "You have 1 hour before they're in firing range. Do whatever you need to do." What followed was the most impressive display of improvisational engineering the galaxy had ever witnessed. The humans turned the station's entire infrastructure into one massive weapon system. Cargo launchers became artillery platforms. Maintenance robots were retrofitted into autonomous defense drones. Even the station's waste reclamation system was repurposed into something the humans called a garbage cannon. When the Drachnid fleet came into range, they expected to find a helpless space station. Instead, they found themselves facing a fortress bristling with improvised weaponry that, by all logical standards, shouldn't have worked, but did. The first volley from the modified mass drivers took out 3 battlecruisers before the pirates even realized what was happening. The artificial gravity generators, rewired to project focused gravitational fields, crushed 2 more ships like empty beverage containers. "By the void," whispered Lieutenant Kaz as they watched the battle unfold. "They turned everything into a weapon." "Not everything," Martinez corrected, working furiously at her console. "We haven't weaponized the coffee makers yet. Though now that I think about it." The battle lasted less than an hour. The remaining Drachnid ships retreated, leaving their destroyed companions as testament to humanity's terrifying ability to transform ordinary technology into implements of warfare. As the adrenaline of battle faded, Commander Vixtal turned to Martinez. "I must know, how did you come up with all of this so quickly?" Martinez shrugged. "Honestly, we've had these plans drawn up since day one. It's just something humans do. Walk into any room and figure out how to turn everything in it into a weapon. It's kind of our thing." "A rather disturbing thing," Vixtal noted. "Maybe," Martinez agreed. "But today it saved 5,000 lives." As cleanup crews began collecting debris from the battle, word of Station 7's defense spread across the galaxy. The message was clear: humans didn't need advanced weapons to be dangerous. They could turn anything into a weapon, and that made them the most terrifying species in the galaxy. The Galactic Council's emergency session was interrupted by urgent news. the swarm had returned. After centuries of dormancy, the insectoid collective had emerged from deep space, hungrier than ever. Their bioorganic ships darkened the skies of frontier worlds, consuming everything in their path. The Council's most advanced weapons proved ineffective against the swarm's evolved defenses. That's when Admiral Elena Chen, Earth's representative, stood up. "We have an idea," she said simply. "But you're not going to like it." 48 hours later, a human merchant vessel named Last Resort drifted in space, apparently disabled. The swarm, unable to resist such easy prey, surrounded the ship. As their boarding pods attached to the hull, Captain James Rodriguez sent one final message to the waiting fleet: watch and learn. The ship's cargo hold contained Earth's secret weapon, a massive colony of deliberately engineered bacteria, designed to feed exclusively on the swarm's bioorganic technology. The humans had turned the swarm's own biological nature against them, creating what they called a targeted pandemic. "It's basically a supercharged case of indigestion," Rodriguez explained later. "Their ships are technically alive, so we gave them food poisoning. The effect was devastating. Within hours, the swarm's ships began to deteriorate. Their living hulls broke down, weapon systems failed, and navigation became impossible. The mighty swarm, terror of the galaxy, was brought low by microscopic organisms engineered in a human laboratory. But humanity wasn't finished. As the swarm's ships drifted helplessly, Phase 2 began. Human ships approached, carrying what appeared to be modified farming equipment. "You see," Admiral Chen explained to the stunned council, "we figured out that the swarm's neural networks operate on frequencies similar to those used in pest control systems. So we upgraded some industrial pesticide sprayers. The repurposed agricultural equipment emitted precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses that scrambled the swarm's hive mind. Without their collective consciousness, the individual creatures were no more threatening than confused insects." The council watched in amazement as humanity turned farming tools into weapons of mass disruption. The swarm, which had resisted the most advanced military technology in the galaxy, was defeated by modified pest control equipment and weaponized bacteria. "This is why we typically contain our weapons research to conventional arms," the Arxian delegate noted with concern. "The human capacity to weaponize ordinary objects and natural processes is disturbing." "Disturbing but effective," Admiral Chen countered. "The swarm is retreating. Their ships are falling apart, their hive mind is in chaos, and we did it without firing a single traditional weapon." As the council debated the implications of humanity's tactics, a junior analyst made a chilling observation. "If humans could turn bacteria and farming equipment into weapons capable of defeating the swarm, what else could they weaponize?" The answer, as the galaxy would soon learn, was everything. The Galactic Defense Academy added Human Improvisation Studies as a mandatory course after the swarm incident. Today's lecture focused on an infamous battle that changed military doctrine forever. The siege of Proxima Station should have been a decisive victory for the hegemony. They had superior numbers, advanced technology, and complete surprise. What they didn't have was experience dealing with cornered humans. Station Chief Maya Wong stood in the hydroponics bay, surrounded by her team. Their ammunition was depleted, conventional weapons disabled. The hegemony forces would breach the final barriers within hours. "They've taken everything," her security officer reported. "We're down to gardening tools and kitchen supplies." Wong smiled. "Perfect. The hegemony soldiers who breached the station expected surrender. Instead, they found corridors filled with improvised traps. Pressurized containers of fertilizer became chemical weapons. Hydroponic lighting systems were rewired into blinding arrays. Kitchen pressure cookers became improvised explosives. But the masterpiece was the station's own environment. The humans had reprogrammed the atmospheric processors to create localized zones of varying pressure and oxygen levels. Hegemony troops found themselves alternately gasping for air or fighting crushing pressure, while the humans, wearing modified maintenance suits, moved freely through their engineered chaos. The true genius, lectured General Kthar to his students, wasn't just their ability to create weapons from ordinary objects. It was their understanding of environment as a weapon itself. The station's defenders turned their knowledge of human biology against their attackers. They knew exactly how much pressure a human body could withstand, how long they could hold their breath, how much heat or cold they could endure. Every environmental system became a weapon precisely calibrated to exploit these limits. The hegemony forces, trained to fight against conventional weapons, had no defense against an enemy who could turn the very air into a weapon. Their advanced armor, designed to stop energy weapons and projectiles, offered no protection against atmospheric manipulation and improvised chemical agents. By the time reinforcements arrived, the humans had not only held the station but had captured 3 hegemony vessels using nothing but repurposed maintenance equipment and environmental controls. The after-action report included a quote from a captured hegemony commander: "How do you fight an enemy who looks at a gardening tool and sees a weapon, who turns life support into a method of execution, who transforms the very space you're fighting in into their ally?" The answer, as the galaxy was learning, was simple: you don't. You make them your allies instead. In the Academy's halls, cadets now studied hydroponics diagrams alongside weapon schematics, and creative repurposing became as important as marksmanship. The humans had taught the galaxy a lesson: true warfare wasn't about having the best weapons, it was about seeing the potential for weapons in everything around you. The Galactic Council's annual security conference looked different now. Human delegates sat at the high table, their presence both reassuring and unsettling. Admiral Chen's presentation was titled "Adaptive Defense Strategies, Learning to Think Like Humans." "The galaxy fears us," she began, "because we can turn anything into a weapon. But that's not our greatest strength. Our real power lies in why we developed this ability." She displayed footage from Earth's history: ancient hunters using terrain against larger predators, resistance fighters turning household items into weapons, scientists repurposing everyday technology to solve unprecedented problems. "We learned to improvise because we had to," Chen continued. "Earth's history is a story of adaptation. When faced with superior predators, we didn't evolve better claws or stronger muscles, we developed tools. When confronted with problems, we found solutions in unexpected places." The conference hall fell silent as she showed classified footage from recent conflicts: the Station 7 defense, the Swarm's defeat, the Proxima Station siege. "You see weapons," she said. "We see solutions. Every weapon we've improvised was originally a tool for survival, construction, or growth. We don't think about warfare when we look at a farming tool or a maintenance robot. We think about potential." A Zarkanian delegate raised their hand. "But how do we trust a species that can turn life support systems into weapons?" Chen smiled. "The same way you trust a doctor with a scalpel. It's not the potential for harm that defines us, it's how we choose to use it." She revealed humanity's proposal: a new galactic defense initiative. Humans would teach other species not just improvisation, but problem-solving. How to see beyond intended purposes, how to adapt and overcome. "Yes, we can turn anything into a weapon," Chen concluded. "But we can also turn anything into a solution. That's the choice we offer the galaxy: fear our potential for destruction, or embrace our capacity for innovation." The vote was unanimous. The galaxy had learned that humans weren't dangerous because they could make weapons out of anything, they were remarkable because they could see possibilities where others saw limitations. As the conference ended, an Arxian ambassador approached Chen. "We always assumed advanced weapons made a species powerful," they said. "But you've shown us that true power lies in the ability to adapt." Chen nodded. "That's humanity's real gift to the galaxy. Not the ability to make weapons, but the creativity to see beyond what is to what could be." The galaxy had feared humanity's talent for turning ordinary objects into weapons. Now they understood that same talent could transform problems into solutions, obstacles into opportunities, and enemies into allies. The species that could turn anything into a weapon had chosen instead to turn their greatest strength into a tool for peace.